So Ravi, Keynote just happened. What do you think?
Yeah, I think if you've been paying attention or following Tableau for the last year closely, right? Like you have to be dialed in, following, questioning, pushing. Nothing was really that new.
Right.
But then a Keynote, right, is a business update primarily. So we're seeing businesses going up, 111, all of those great things that Salesforce and Tableau do together. And then you go into what are we listening to? Then you get the listening session, like the community, which we'll come on to, of course.
Yeah.
You then have the products. I think it was quite clear, which is new.
Yeah. It was very clear, succinct.
And I learned a new word, interoperability.
Interoperability.
There we go. Which was used. I don't think anyone stumbled over that word.
No?
Like the slides were stumbled across. Like we got some live demos and some live slide jumps, but yeah,
right.
It was good. What about you? How did you feel? This is your first conference in 6 years.
In 6 years, yes.
I've been here every year.
It's good. The atmosphere, I love to see lots of people here. I love to see all the energy.
Yeah.
I'm a bit biased because, of course, coming here does fill you with energy and excitement. So it's hard to say that some of that hasn't rubbed off on me, absolutely. But it was still good to see the keynote, see them sort of pushing out the key messaging, responding to some of the concerns over the last, let's say, 6 months, right? That was very clear. But should we just step back, give people an overview of the whole keynote, and then we can dive in.
Let's do that.
Just very quick, 2 minutes. Classic Salesforce keynote opens up. A big thank you to everyone for being there. A big thank you to the community. Recognition for the Tableau ambassadors, visionary. Yeah. Then we go to the classic doing well and doing good slide, 40 billion ARR. That's just a
loads
classic.
Loads of new features, loads of new things, loads of new customers, loads of new user groups, all those things.
Exactly.
You had the video at the start, which was like, data doesn't reveal the world, it helps you change it. Like really making people change makers. I think, again, if you think about framing, mission statements and like CEO buzzwords, you got a lot of AI, you got a lot of agents. Of course, you're going to get that. If you're not expecting that, where have you been the last year and a half, right?
Exactly.
Like, this is the world as we live in today. But I think this is the data analytics and AI event of the year.
Yeah,
right?
It's the only one, I think.
Right, because you're now trying to take data, analytics, which is a function of data, and AI, and be like, right, we're going to shove these together. And
I think that is quite a big, obvious play to fill that space, like this agentic whatever being the only tool that fills that space, because a lot of analytics tools don't quite have that messaging ready, so it's an easy spot for them to fill.
So here's a question, what's Tableau's mission?
It's a great question. It used to be to see and help you understand data. That's what it used to be. It recently changed to a variant of that. I don't know, I can't remember exactly what it was.
So it used to be helping people see and understand data, right? Where over the years you then had like see and understand as the highlight, then it was people as the highlight. And then it became see and understand and act on data.
And act on data, action,
Today we heard see and understand data once.
True.
Right, you had that mission repeated to again, if you're thinking about the press corps, shareholders, all of this is the big Tableau event, it was mentioned once. And that again comes back to, this is a Salesforce event as a satellite company, which is okay. And I've always been the person to be like, that's completely fine, because if someone's paying the bills, they can have whatever they want, right? Like, it doesn't lose anything of the product. But I think it's quite interesting on messaging that we're getting there.
Yeah. So then we went on to the classic 3-part presentation where we have obviously the vision for the future, Tableau Next. Then we had an ode to the community, DataFam. Then we had an ode to the core community. So there was a little bit of product sort of sprinkled into that from Southard. So there's a good handoff between Southard and Raker, but it was predominantly the three key execs.
And my sort of rambles and marketing ended up on the slide. Right? For the first time we had, what was it? It was people are data rich and insights poor.
Insight poor, But that's a very UIsm.
For a double whammy, we had that on one side, in the rainy side.
And the gap.
And we had the gap, and then the sun on the right-hand side.
It's a Ravi special.
It's a Ravi special. So that was
when that came up, you were like, that's mine. That's mine.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, you should have written a book, Ravi. So,
should have written a blog.
Claim it before they use it.
Knowledge curation and insights poor,
But actually it hits on the audience of this keynote.
For sure.
And I think this is a sort of recurring theme. Like, who are these keynotes for? they are no longer really for what they used to be, sort of the core community. They are very
much for like guerrilla analysts, right? The people who are like, no, I don't want to work in Excel. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to use a tool that helps me see and understand data and let me get hands-on and into the nitty-gritty. That isn't your core user anymore, is it?
Yeah.
Or it won't be.
I think it's evolving. I don't think we've arrived at the destination. It's very clear they're trying to bring in the broader business user, right? They're building a product that is meant for the broader business user first. The box demo that they talked about,
good.
That was actually a really good demo.
It was really
again
clear.
From the box user, and they were talking about value they've realized. And I think it goes without, something we haven't talked a lot about is Tableau Pulse was actually a really good product market fit. Because when it came out, to be honest, I wasn't sure because I was thinking about it from a Tableau context. But on reflection, seeing the way people use Tableau Pulse now and the kind of people who are talking about it, it was never a product for me. It was a product for the execs, it was a product for the CFOs, the CIOs, to get what they need very quickly and have us analysts enable those people to self-serve. And actually it's hit the mark really well. And of the whole Tableau Next piece, it's incredible that Tableau Pulse is not in the Tableau Next stack. It's not sort of obviously called out.
Obviously, but it is.
It is, but it's called something else. It's called metrics, which is a classic. It is a classic Salesforceism to do something really well, then immediately change the brand name to something else. But there is no, in that vision, you don't see Pulse anywhere, right? You see semantic layer, you see all of that. There's no metrics layer. There's no metrics, nothing. It's not called that, which is very bizarre.
But that could be the action layer. Or the visualization.
It could be, but even so, we have a very strong demo, strong example, Tableau Plus. You've branded it really, really well. And in your vision for the future, it's nowhere to be seen on that same slide, right?
But do you think that's because of like the loud voices being negative? Because you get a lot of negativity from loud voices about things like Pulse, like, how am I going to use this? It doesn't solve my problem.
But it's the thing that has the most demonstrable example of them doing the right thing, right? Huh? Like, as much as we might not use it as core analysts or as data analysts or viz enthusiasts, as I might specifically put it, it doesn't matter. We were never the primary customer. We were there to build it and help serve people. But the person who uses Tableau Pulse and gets the most out of it was never going to be us. So,
and I think this is actually the theme, right? A lot of what you see here today and what was talked about product-wise. Some of it isn't for us, and that's okay. I think this is the thing we have to understand. Like there were a lot of people in that room today, and a lot of first-time Tableau users in that room as well, right? Or first-time Tableau conference goers. For them, a lot of this is like, this will help me. That'll change my workflow. That is actually a problem I have. But if you're then still looking for rounded corners and spell check and whatever else.
Put in the ideas for them,
which it is. And they'll get to it. But like, and it's really important to have that transparency. Now, the second thing I'll say is, some of that transparency has meant the splash is smaller.
It has.
Right. Like, you know what Tableau are doing because they will they're building in public. Like, not Tableau public. I should be really careful with words. They're building out loud in public so you can see what they're doing. This is where we're going. This is the direction of travel. Like, just as a really clear. And they've also simplified the message so much that people are like, but that's really easy.
It's so dumbed down.
Why is it so easy?
Where's the advanced stuff? There's almost a bit of doubt and skepticism about how easy it is, which is
and it's my data's not that clean.
Exactly. There's always a but something, and I get that. We all know what the hustle is when we're working on data. It's never as straightforward as how it's set out. But I think the workflow should be that simple. The workflow they show should be that straightforward. And actually, just because we use the product well enough, we know what the workflow is, and we forget that workflow is really hard to pick up and understand. Exactly. And so that's actually a really well thought through part of this ecosystem, is that they do understand their workflow. They're trying to solve for the workflow first, and then molding the products around that workflow, which is why the disparate products sometimes feel disconnected, because in isolation, they don't make sense. But if you envision them in the workflow, they do make sense. And this is where Tableau Next as a brand, it's essentially a container of multiple sort of smaller products. Borrow that from Kirk Monroe. He'll be watching this go, that's my phrase.
That's my line.
I was like, cheers, Kirk. But no, that is very much sort of the intention. Let's then touch on some big picture stuff. So there was some core sort of messaging.
Yeah.
The first one was this very clear theme around transformation versus replacement, right?
Yes.
So there were
AI
pains
is
to
not
say,
gonna-
exactly. There was pains to say, look, we're not coming for your jobs. We're not trying to build a platform that means that your job will disappear. What we want to do is enable you to do more. Very, very key thing.
I believe that.
Yeah,
I
agree with that.
I think it's the analyst of the future that's coming, where, like, if you think of an analyst 15 years ago, the job was very different. And, like, the amount of people who will resonate with that thing they talked about multiple times during the keynote, of someone dropping a quick message to someone saying, can you just get me? Can you just grab me? Can you just do this?
Yeah.
I'm still doing this to the people in my team, and I'm still getting this from the practitioners I work with. Can you not just, is it not as easy as, and you get your legs taken out so quick. But if you're able to educate the flow and give them the ability to self-serve with a bit of confidence, which is what Canvas, an agentic experience can give you, because you can create guardrails and framing and all of this stuff as the knowledge curator. That's where you go from the person in the middle who's like Doctor Strange doing all these different things all at the same time, versus the person that just can solve their own problems.
Exactly.
In a world where you don't need superheroes, you just need an efficient system and good government.
And I think the other thing is that there was a phrase that came out at the keynote, precision architects, right? Like, I've been really adamant about this role of a curator in the analytics workflow versus the creator, explorer, viewer analogy. Like, there are people's roles are going to have to change to be kind of the shepherds of data sources, semantic models. The way those comes together, that will need curation. It's very much true to that concept. I hate it because it comes from Alteryx. And
Rest in peace.
Yeah. But they actually nailed it when they thought about that concept of what a curator is on their cloud platform. Well, not cloud platform, that's kind of been the problem. But anyway, that concept, I think, is really true in this ecosystem. I wish they'd just lean in on that a little bit more.
Spend a little bit of time just explaining that. But maybe they will in Dubs on stage.
And I think they have to find a way to do that in the product as well. Give creators today a really clear path on how they can become curators in Tableau next. But that has to start, I think, from Tableau Desktop. There was a key thing I want to stress the keynote, being in the room compared to watching it online. You completely don't get this. The room went flat as soon as the Tableau Next demos started. And it's not because the Tableau Next demos weren't great. It was just because it doesn't resonate with a decent part of the audience that's here at this conference to go to
people that are leaning in. Right?
Correct.
These are people that lean in and want to get better at using the Tableau ecosystem, which is, again, comes back to, it's not for a majority of users.
Correct, but yet it was the leading part of the keynote. So that it's a very hard balance that Salesforce has to strike. It's really hard. Because they have to talk about Next, but you know that I'm going to just randomly take a number, 60 to 70% of the audience is here at conference to do the desktop certification, to do hands-on with desktop, to go and see Ken and Ken in desktop, showing them tricks, to go and see the visionaries doing stuff in Tableau core.
Go into a Tableau doctor session.
And the only thing you can do with Next is potentially go to a lab or go to a very curated experience. And so because of that sort of contrast, you have this very weird place where the room was flat. I put a photo in. I looked around. I just took a photo on my glasses because I was like, everyone's just on their phones at this moment. And that's a shame because there's real good value there. But maybe there is a world where there's a separate talk for execs and CFOs and CIOs. Say, look, this is where we think your analytics teams are going to head to in the future. We're not quite there yet. And then another keynote, which is, I guess, devs on stage, which goes to the core and speaks to
it's the exec track versus the dev track.
Very much so.
That's exactly it. So I think agents are truly wheel greasers. The things that agents will make your life better by is like getting rid of those quick questions, making the business users autocomplete, like nudges. You're able to conversation. What's like, imagine saying, what was that calc I did the other day? Oh yeah, it's this one, right? It's creating all the things you don't want to do quickly. Like imagine when they built that dashboard, the first thing I thought was, now imagine if I'm able to use one of Tristan's tools to build a dashboard, like perfect theme template, And as they're building their step by step, using the canvas, using the agent, it's just in our brand.
Yeah.
I don't need to do any formatting. I don't need to design it. It just works.
Yeah.
And we can then go back and educate them to say, the prompts you use were fine, but did you not know about this, this, and this? And it gives me like this really good framework for data fluency and data literacy. Yeah. So like if you once you start thinking of it and be like, what could I do? How could this help people? It gets great.
I agree. And there was also a thing that I realized for the first time, and I think we talked about this before the conference, which is this concept of multiverse, right? And we use the analogy of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yeah. And during the keynote, you pulled up the diagram, and I'll put it on screen to just drum this point. So let me just quickly summarize this concept. Basically, what we said in Starbucks before we got here was that there is this multiverse of different products. And it's very much like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where none of it starts like it's part of the same story. You could be watching a whole season of one show and not realize that it eventually is going to tie into the main storyline 3-5 years down the line. But when it comes together, there is this huge aha moment. But along that journey, along the way, there are just so many moments. So you remember watching the Avengers Infinity War Part 1. That ends on such a somber note. I feel like that's where the community is right now. Mm-hmm. Like the big thing of change, not really realizing the opportunity that's at hand, and not seeing a path forward. Yeah. We're really at the end of Infinity War, right?
And I think it's like, in order to watch Avengers Infinity War as a standalone film, you probably get it, but there's loads of little bits being like, I don't get why that's happened, right? How's that happened?
Unless you're a super fan.
Exactly. And then now if you look at from there how Marvel's branched, you then get X-Men 92 or whatever it is. You got Luke Cage. There's an entire like Daredevil, Luke Cage universe. It's like a bunch of shows. You've got like the Miss Marvel triple threat. Like all of these things are just happening. And if you're not taking a step back and be like, that's over here, that's over here, how does this all going to connect together? And then you go watch Doctor Strange and you're like, what's he doing? Like, why is Thor fat all of a sudden? If you've missed 2 movies, you're just like, he's got no eye and he's fat. Why?
Exactly.
Right? Like, it doesn't make sense. And I think it's really interesting because there is areas of like, I think you said, all of these products, the interoperability of Tableau Cloud, Tableau Desktop, Tableau Server, Tableau Prep, and then Tableau Next. At no point when you're thinking about that, do you think how these link together?
Correct.
They shouldn't, but they will and they can, but they may just live alone. Like Cloud and Server users are never going to be at parity.
Correct.
Right? Desktop and if you're just an explorer on Cloud or Club, they're never going to have full parity.
But here's the thing.
And Tableau Next is going to be in the middle with the canvas trying to knit it together. But it needs a lot of work from the analysts and the curators.
Exactly. The point I was trying to make earlier on was that it's very hard if you're like a super fan of Marvel and you're trying to picture where this story is going to go. It's very hard for you to even find a plot line that sees this thing has come together. It should be that way. You know, for example, if I'm on Tableau Cloud, I should be able to try Tableau Next at next to no friction. And if I don't like it, I can fall back to Tableau Core, as it were. This happens a lot of products when there's a new version, right? There's always a fall safe to go back to the thing, but the new thing is just the skin. The problem with this ecosystem is the new thing is not just the skin.
It's a fundamental
fundamental philosophy, which means you can't share many assets. You can't build many workflows off the same thing.
So here's something that got everyone meerkatting, right? When you got everyone like going, hold on, this is interesting, which is Tableau Server with AI, which has been out in 25.1, and it's ready to go. You can use it today, right? But the first time I've seen it be explained to how it works now,
it's very clear.
You take a big step back, and you did that video about names and stuff, right? The Tableau VSQL data service API
becomes a big player,
pivotal to make this work. Right. So you're suddenly seeing all the things coming together to give you the thing you're actually looking for. And it has to be rebuilt. It has to start from scratch. Like Viz extensions, you have to start from scratch because you have to basically circumvent VSQL to create this, and it's not possible without the Viz data service.
VSQL data service is the single most important feature of the last 2 years that no one is talking about, other than Anya and a few people who know how to build on it, right? It's enabled Tableau Pulse. It's enabling AI in the current ecosystem.
Yeah.
Tableau Next is very clearly using it to call on data sources in Tableau Cloud via Data Cloud. I don't know the exact technical details of that, but I'm almost certain that is what's enabled it. And the reason I know that is because when you're using these more modern new tools, they just work differently. They respond faster.
Yeah.
If you look at VisQL Data Service, there's no way that's a Hyper file being loaded up in the background. It's too slow for that.
It's too slow. And Hyper was cutting edge.
Yeah,
they were pressing the button and you were seeing it loaded live, right?
And they're clearly caching and doing a bunch of other small things. But needless to say, that came up. And I think the interesting thing about that announcement, I'll put the slide up on this edit, is that they showed a way of that working, which is exactly like the Einstein Trust Layer, but modeled using your own AI platform, modeled using
Einstein.
your own thing.
So hard.
Yeah.
No
I think they made a joke about it on stage, right?
Yeah. Used to be a different name.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Data Pro, like that, that's just Einstein and bless it. I think two more things I want to raise.
Yeah.
We've got another era. This is the era of change.
Yeah. I think it has been for the last 2 years, but they've just figured out what to call it. They called it the fourth wave 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
That was a crap name. This is a much better sort of more mature approach.
It's a more mature approach.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the right way to frame this keynote.
Yeah.
It's a mature keynote.
Yeah.
And actually,
they've learned their lessons.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is with agents, LLMs, natural language processing, giving the ability for anyone to ask and answer business questions as long as your data is governed, well architected, etc. It's actually truly democratizing data.
Yeah.
Right.
Indeed.
And this is the stuff that it's not sexy, it's not glamorous, it's not spell check, but it is the right direction.
Yeah.
And like they kept mentioning Tableau's not going. I believe them. Like Tableau Core, or as they're calling it, won't go away.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it will just be a different experience, and that's okay.
It's
Captain America's old now, right? Like you've now got the Captain America Falcon, whatever it is.
I think they have a different problem though, because Tableau Core could end up being their Robot Downey Jr., where they have to keep bringing it back to get people engaged, right?
Because now suddenly is what Victor Von Doom was like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
cool.
There's a whole different like world of context there. So, yeah, it's super interesting. What was interesting about the keynote as well? It wasn't that different to last year. I think I could probably show you the parallel slides from year to year, almost just as a sort of continuous stream. That was very obvious, and it ended on the usual note, and that was fine. I guess the difference this year is we do have devs on the stage separate. So we're going to get that big sort of endorphin hit. We have the keynote to start with. Day two, big hit.
Product track.
Yeah. And then we've got obviously all the exciting stuff happening tomorrow. Today's the discovery day. Tomorrow's the excitement phase. And then Thursdays we all come together to reflect, right? That's sort of the structure of the conference.
This was the other interesting thing is that this was a really clear keynote.
Yeah.
Right? It was really very clear, polished, and cohesive.
Yeah.
It hit all the right beats. But that's not sexy, that's not fun, that's not exciting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
they were never going to make everyone happy either. So I think that they got the messages they needed to get across. Tableau's not going anywhere. Core's not going anywhere.
We've listened to what
We're investing in what you love. We've listened to what you said.
Yeah.
Here are some clear examples to show you of that energy and investment. Here's AI and server. Here's all this other stuff. And I think it's really good. It's really good. And yeah.
When they went back in time to 2003 and showed Tableau 1, and I gave it the wolf whistle, for 1 second I thought, oh God, that's Christian Sugar's music. And then you just get ba-ba-da-ba, like coming out.
John Cena music.
Just a big entrance.
The time is up, the time's now.
Oh man.
That would have been epic.
That's like the sort of thing, but that's like a Hail Mary pass, right? That's when you start putting celebrities in government, because your government's dying, so you're like, give me a celebrity and
Yeah. So just looking at our notes here, let me just go back. The final thing that I think worth touching on was the demos of the products were much more cohesive. We touched on the workflow point earlier on, but I think what was true this time around is I got a genuine sense that we were seeing the real thing, because there was There was a few more rough edges.
You mean when the trial ran out?
Yeah, when the Keyboard Maestro trial ran out. I use Keyboard Maestro, very great tool. What they clearly did is they wiped the computer, put that demo on there, and there's a 14-day trial. They've been doing that, and it decided to run out.
It's real.
Literally during the keynote. Could have done that any time in the last 24 hours.
But that means it's not a Figma.
Yeah,
it's not a JPEG.
Yeah. You have to swipe around, get out of full screen. It was a genuine thing. It's a build that we don't have access to, though.
Yes.
Transparency. I've tried Tableau, bits of Tableau Next, and it's not that far ahead. So they're clearly building in phases, getting people to try very specific things. That makes sense. I do think it is now time for people to get their hands on it. Whatever format it's in, you've got to get people in to try and build
people need to dial in as well, right?
Well,
I think people, if you're interested in this next wave and you want to say, well, does it work for me?
Yeah.
Sign up for the betas, speak to the guys, and go from there.
Yeah. But I don't think you can get people to dial in if there isn't something to say. You can't
for sure.
You can't hold people
hostage.
It's you can't say dial in if there's nothing for people to chew in and critique. And so they very much have to say, here it is, now it's your turn. And if you don't, that's a different discussion around engagement. And if they're struggling to get engagement, well, that's a different product problem. Yeah. But I don't think there's any problem with engagement. People do generally want to try it and figure it out. Might not excite them, that's a different problem, but I don't think it's going to excite everyone. Like a good product, as they say, will piss off 80% of the people who might be into it, and will really serve that 20% really well, really kind of make them happy. I think last time we flipped that and we said they're trying to piss off the 20% to make the 80% better. Well, I'm now sort of flipping back and think maybe Tableau Next is actually for a very specific type of person, and they are that 20%, and actually the 80% is constituent of execs, people like us, enthusiasts, and that pie is actually almost 30%, really senior people, never going to touch the product. 30% really artisan, really focused on how to build beautiful visualizations, curating every single little pixel on that dashboard. And then you've got this final 30% who can't be bothered with any of that.
They just want to do their job.
They just want to do their job.
Reduce time to insight. Get me to the answer quicker.
That is Tableau Next in a nutshell. But anyway, it's day one of conference. Still, there's so much more to learn.
Devs on stage tomorrow.
Devs on stage tomorrow. We'll obviously talk about that at some point. But yeah, been pretty good so far.
Nice.
All right. Catch you later. Good. Right, let's hope I press record. Oh, I did. All good.